Ryan Watson, R-Y-A-N W-A-T-S-O-N, Assistant Fire Chief, City of Lufkin Fire Department.
Okay, thank you so much. And so my first question is, how do high winds affect the spread and behavior of fires in our area?
So high winds in grass primarily, but also in the brush, the wind pushes the flames, kind of bends it over. So the flames actually start preheating the grass and the other fuels that are ahead of the fire. So it's easier for them to ignite quicker. Winds will also help direct the fire in which way it's going to burn because of the preheating, and it can also carry hot embers and things of that nature to increase the fire, and also to cause spot fires out ahead of the main body of the fire. Where there's not fire and there is just wind, what the wind does is as it blows through those grasses and those lighter fuels, it actually dries out those fuels a lot quicker than if there was no wind.
Okay, thank you. And so what specific challenges do firefighters face when combating these fires during the elevated winds?
So wind-driven fires are always a problem. When the wind's driving a fire, you've got to get far enough ahead of it, but also at the same time, depending on the size of the fire, you may not want to be ahead of it. Usually with wildfires, we'll start at what we call the heel of the fire, and we'll start where it started, and we'll go up each flank and then work our way around to the head of the fire to put it out. That way we don't have personnel in front of the flame front that can easily overtake you, or the flank, if you're at the head, the flank can come around and get around you. So that's the way that we fight the wildfires. But the winds definitely cause a problem. When they're blowing strong, then the fire just moves a lot quicker, and it can get a lot larger and hotter.
Right. And so are there any areas or neighborhoods within our jurisdiction that can particularly be vulnerable when it comes to fire outbreaks during windy conditions?
Pretty much anywhere can. Even your yard, once your yard dries out, it can become a problem, and most yards are adjacent to other yards, and they just burn through. We do have pockets within the city that are brush and grass and things like that. We have some areas that do have some of the pasture land that is more wide open grass areas. And we also have some wooded areas that can be of concern. Most of those are smaller in nature. There are a few larger ones, but with the resources we have, we can get on top of the fire and usually get it out pretty quickly.
And so have this department had any recent calls regarding any fires related to the wind or anything recently?
We haven't had anything recently that I can recall. We've had a few fires, we've had a few brush fires, but most of those have not been directly wind related. A lot of those have been what we suspect to be homeless related, either campfires or cooking fires, something like that in a wooded area that gets called in, and then we go and we extinguish the fire and educate and do the things that we need to try to prevent it from occurring again.
Okay, and I guess speaking of that, do you expect any upcoming fires regarding the high winds that we're going to be experiencing?
Right now, we don't have any necessarily any predictions for fires. Our KBDI index is still fairly low. We're not in a high fire danger right now. We're currently in a moderate fire danger. So with the winds, that does cause some concern, but as long as everybody is careful if they are burning and follow the rules and the ordinances that the city has in place, then we shouldn't have any major issues.
Okay, and so what are some of those precautions or measures that people should take?
So looking at the city ordinance, it has to be a certain distance from any property line. It can't be started a certain time after daylight. It has to be put out a certain time before dark, and there's only certain things you can burn.
Okay, and do you have any other advice for people as they may be burning during this time with these high winds as well?
Use caution, always, and always have a water source adequate to extinguish the fire. So if it does start to get out of control, you can put out the fire yourself quicker. Absolutely, if you call us, and we'll come out and we'll make sure the fire's out and we'll check it and everything. But that's part of the ordinance, is making sure you do have an adequate water source to extinguish the fire.
Okay. And is there anything else you'd like to add that I may have missed?
So the only other thing I can think of is this morning we did deploy our TIFMAS truck. We have a Type 6 engine, which is a brush truck. We deployed 2 personnel on that truck at the request of the Texas Interstate Fire Mutual Aid System. That was a request that was put in by the Texas Forest Service, and our personnel left at 7 a.m. this morning, and they are to be in Amarillo this evening. They'll check in. There's actually a 40,000 acre fire in Hutchinson County, and they are likely expected to be assigned to that fire. But that crew, through the Texas Interstate Fire Mutual Aid System, we assist other entities within the state primarily, and it's a large mutual aid group, and we respond and assist those other fire departments, those other communities, when they have that need that exceeds what they can provide locally.
Okay, no problem. And I guess one other last question is, usually during high winds, whenever we do have these, is there usually a certain number of incidents that is called out regarding any fires?
Not usually. Usually the number of incidents is not typically related to the wind. Usually the number of incidents is more related to how dry it is outside, and the heat and the relative humidity is what usually is what we look for that. Wind is a consideration, but it's not one of our usual triggers.